Curious how you can add CMS-like functionality to edit pages within your web application at runtime with TMS WEB Core? Show this video. I guide you through the process to achieve this with TMS WEB Core, with StellarDSio and with a FNC component. So, ready in the Delphi IDE, I have opened this project. I call it Light CMS. This project because it's a lightweight system to create editable pages in your web core applications. So maybe to focus, let's first run this application and see a little bit how it works, and then I'll go a little bit more in detail how we achieve that. If I have this web application starting, I can open a page, and you can see here the page that I'm opening is the test page. It's the page as is. I cannot really do anything with this page at this moment. So I go back to the main page of my web application and I will do a login, and the login should actually give me permission to edit pages. So if I go to this page, you can see as I'm logged in right now that I have the edit capability, and I can also go to the administration part of this application. I'll start with going to the edit page, and you can see that I can either see the page as HTML and edit it as HTML here with this editor on the edit page, but I can also move and see it as plain HTML via this editor. It is easier, of course, to edit with HTML editor, and let's add some text like this, and I save this page, close this page, and you can see that the page was now modified. So if I go back now to the main page, go to the CMS page, you can see that I'm looking at the modified page. So how was this now achieved? Let me go with you through the details. We have the main page, and to go to the first page of our CMS, this is the URL that I'm loading, and I'm actually here passing the name of the page that I want to view. And it is this form that is triggered when this view URL is opened. And here you can see a top panel that contains the edit and admin buttons, as you could have seen, and an HTML div. If I navigate to the code of this form, what is actually happening here is when this form is opened, first of all, it makes the edit panel visible or not visible depending if the user has logged in with permissions or not. And this permission is stored in a local storage variable, and then I'm loading the form. And to load the form, this happens in this method. You can see that first of all it will get the page name from the query parameter on the URL. It will look up the page in the database, and in a moment I will discuss how we connect here to the database. It's a Stellar Data Store database that we are using in the backend, and we are getting or opening this data set on our Stellar Data Store database with an access token. The access token here in this case is an access token that gives us read-only access to the data. And here I'm opening the data set with that read-only access token, and if I'm getting any results and the record count is larger than 0, meaning that the page that I'm looking for with this filter here, that this page exists, then I'm actually getting the blob URL of the page content itself. So the content of the page, all the HTML that goes into that page, is saved into a blob field on the Stellar data store. If that blob URL exists, then I'm getting the content of this page, and I can add this content to the HTML div on the page. If the page is not found, then I simply fill in the text page not found here. So that is all that is happening here to load the page. And I can, of course, also from here, when I'm logged in, when I have the permissions to edit the page, I can start the editor from where I can modify this page. And that is done by opening the form from where I can edit. And so I create here a new form, and I load the form, and then I actually execute that form. After my edit form has been executed, so potentially the page has been edited, changed, I'm calling the load form again so that the updated content is shown. That's actually how easy it is. And if I now open this edit page, you can see here that I have my page control where I can switch between my HTML editor or the plain text editor. When we briefly inspect the code, so when I'm opening this edit form, I'm actually doing the same thing as I did with viewing the page. The only difference here is that the access token that I'm using for opening my data set on that data store database is using the access token that I obtain after login, authentication and authorization via OAuth2, and that token gives me read-write permission. So that's the token that I have to use if, of course, I want to change the content. And here I'm opening the dataset with that read and write access token, and same applies when the opening is successful. When that page exists, I can get to the blob URL here, I can get the content of the page, and I can show the content here in this case, both in the editor and also in the memo that offers me access to the page content as plain HTML. And then, of course, we need to see the code when I press the save button. So then I'm simply capturing the content of that HTML editor, and I'm using the write blob call to write the content of that page to the content blob field in my Stellar Data Store dataset. And that's actually what's to it. I've just not shown how we do the login, how we do the authentication and authorization via the OAuth2 that is also part of Stellar Data Store, what it offers. And so here you can see when I'm performing or clicking the login button, you can see that I'm using the client dataset that has built-in OAuth functionality. I'm using that dataset, and here I'm setting the parameters for doing OAuth2 based authentication and authorization. When I open the dataset this way, the dataset itself will do the full OAuth2 process to show the login dialog and to capture the result. The result actually, when I successfully open the dataset, the result is that I can access the access token that was obtained, the access token with the read and write permissions, and save that in local storage so that on my edit form and my admin form I can use that access token. And when I log out, I simply clear these local storage values and I reset the access token. Now let's have a look at the Stellar data store that is behind it. So I'm connecting to data in the cloud, data that is managed in StellarDSio, and here is my account on StellarDS and all the tables that I have defined, and you can see here the CMS table. It's the table that we are using in this example application. And you can see that I have only two fields apart from the automatic available key field, the ID field. I have the name field, which is a string field, and I have a blob field that is the content. So that's all there is. And you can see here the pages that already exists in my CMS table. So that's all there is to it. Of course, I also need access, and here you can see, for example, for my OAuth application, the client ID. The secret is not visible here. It's only visible when you create a new OAuth application for security reasons, obviously. And you see that the callback domain is set to the domain on which I am using this local here in this case, light CMS application from TMS WEB Core. So this explains in a nutshell how this lightweight CMS application was built with TMS WEB Core, how it uses the StellarDS data store, the data in the backend, so you do not have to worry about setting up the server, the database for it, etc. That all comes out of the box with StellarDS, and that all comes out of the box with the dataset component that connects to it. And via the web data source, you can, for example, in our admin page, connect to a DB Grid, DB Navigator to work with your data that is managed by StellarDSio. And last but not least, here you have an FNC component, which is an FNC HTML editor. So that is the editor that allows you to edit in a WYSIWYG way your forms with HTML. So that's in a nutshell the lightweight CMS application that hopefully inspires you how you can use this kind of functionality to also enrich your TMS WEB Core web applications built with Delphi, with Stellar Data Store backend, and you can add this FNC memo, but actually any FNC control also in web applications. So with the WEB Core components combined with the FNC components, you have an enormous range of components at your disposal for creating fantastic web applications with Delphi.